Can TKO Group Holdings remove Vince McMahon after the bombshell allegations made against the executive chairman of the company in yesterday's lawsuit filed against himself, WWE, and also former executive vice president of talent relations, John Laurinaitis? We got the details on that. Plus, Dave Meltzer says there's no coming back for McMahon in WWE after the latest wave of allegations made against him. In fact, Royal Rumble merchandise featuring McMahon's 1999 Royal Rumble victory have been pulled from the Royal Rumble store in Florida ahead of tomorrow's premium live event. We have an update on Mercedes Mone and Kazuchika Okada's talks with All Elite Wrestling, details on why WWE possibly accepted a financial loss when it came to the Monday Night Raw Netflix deal. The Rock, is he nearing a WWE in-ring return after he was named on the TKO board of directors this week? Television changes could be coming to WWE after the departure of Kevin Dunn, and details on a big Women's World Championship match planned for WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling, and the biggest story dominating the headlines right now is the bombshell allegations made against TKO, executive chairman of the board, Vince McMahon, in a lawsuit filed against WWE, McMahon, and John Laurinaitis yesterday by former WWE employee Janelle Grant. Vince McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis have been sued by Janelle Grant for sex trafficking in a complaint that accuses McMahon of numerous instances of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse in graphic detail. Among the allegations filed with the U.S. federal court in Connecticut on Thursday, Grant describes being sexually assaulted by McMahon and Laurinaitis. Through a spokesperson, McMahon responded Thursday saying, quote, "This lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself," end quote. A source close to Grant told WrestleNomics on Friday that she's relieved to have the information in the lawsuit become public and grateful for the support she's received, though she is a broken person from her interactions with McMahon. While no longer the controlling owner of WWE since the TKO merger, McMahon serves as TKO's executive chairman. TKO released a statement on Thursday evening saying, quote, "Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing this matter internally," end quote. Now, Grant's lawsuit accuses WWE of being complicit in McMahon's abuse, claiming multiple high-ranking executives were aware of the situation and didn't stop him. Quote, "WWE corporate officer number 1, end quote, anonymized in the complaint, is said to be a high-ranking employee and board member during Miss Grant's employment with WWE, which spanned from May 2019 to January 2022. Grant says she introduced herself to corporate officer number 1 in March 2021, and this person knew exactly who she was, despite the two working in separate buildings until a month prior. Perhaps narrowing down the possibilities of this executive's identity further, Grant mentions this person had an office on the 4th floor of WWE's headquarters. Other than Vince McMahon, who is explicitly identified throughout the lawsuit, executive members of WWE's board between 2019 and 2022 include Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, Frank Riddick, and Stephanie McMahon, based on WWE's disclosures. George Barrios and Michelle Wilson were also executive board members until their January 2020 termination from WWE, so they were not working for the company in March 2021, the time at which Grant says corporate officer number 1 was working at WWE. In addition to WWE Corporate Officer number 1, Grant claims other executives, referred to as WWE Corporate Officer number 2, 3, and 4, were also aware of McMahon sexually exploiting her. WWE Corporate Officer number 3 is also said in the complaint to have been a high-ranking employee and or board member while Grant was employed at the company. Grant alleges she was never interviewed as part of WWE's Special Committee investigation, despite expressing that she was willing to cooperate with them. The investigation into McMahon and Laurinaitis' conduct and the company's culture was initiated in June 2022 after the Wall Street Journal broke the news of an NDA payment scandal involving McMahon and a former WWE paralegal, anonymous at the time, who was Grant. Multiple other NDAs to pay for women's silence about additional cases of alleged sexual misconduct perpetrated by McMahon were disclosed following the investigation. So the big question becomes, can Vince McMahon be removed from TKO Group Holdings amid all of of these allegations being made against him. Installing McMahon as executive chairman was part of the merger agreement negotiated by WWE and Endeavor last year, which combined WWE and UFC into TKO. It's unclear if TKO, which is controlled by Endeavor, can unilaterally force McMahon out of his role as executive chairman. If the parent of WWE and UFC want him gone, it may need to convince him to resign from his position as executive chairman. According to TKO's certificate of incorporation filed last year with the SEC, McMahon may have rights to that position until he resigns, dies, or becomes incapacitated. Quote, 7.2 Executive Chair, notwithstanding Section 7.1 Bracket B, Vincent K. McMahon shall serve as the Executive Chair of the Board, the Executive Chair, until the earliest of his death, resignation, or incapacitation. Any vacancy of the Executive Chair, which, if Mr. McMahon is the initial Executive Chair, shall initially only occur upon the death, resignation, or incapacity of Mr. McMahon, shall be filled by the Board by the affirmative votes of a majority of the directors, end quote. Now, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics discussed these corporate governance aspects with a person who has served on boards of directors, and he believes amending the above section requires A, a majority vote from TKO shareholders to amend the company's governance agreement, and B, the signature of all parties, which does include Vince McMahon himself. While Endeavor has the majority of the votes of TKO, getting McMahon to agree to any amendments that makes it easier to remove him may be an obstacle. Possibly a path of less resistance would be leveraging an agreement with McMahon that gets him to resign, which could include selling his shares to another party. McMahon currently holds more than 20 million TKO shares, which at today's share price of about $87 have a market value of more than $1.7 billion. So when it comes to the answer of Vince McMahon can be removed from TKO, the answer is we don't really know right now. Now, Dave Meltzer has opened up on what's happened yesterday in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter, and he believes the latest suit may finally result in McMahon's dismissal from not only TKO but also WWE as well. Quote, this time, unless the allegations made in the 67-page lawsuit by former mistress Janelle Grant in U.S. District Court in the District of Connecticut are able to be discredited almost completely, the claims are so revolting that there should be no chance in hell that he remains in the company, Meltzer wrote. The charges run way past embarrassing, and the text messages shown in the suits by themselves are reprehensible enough that even if one chooses to claim the allegations are made up and it was consensual, the text alone should make it impossible for McMahon to remain. Now, in the past, of course, McMahon has weathered serious accusations only to return to power within the company he purchased from his father. In addition to several past accusations of assault, McMahon and his company were investigated by the federal government in the early 1990s due to allegations of systemic steroid use in the promotion. McMahon and the WWE have made it through the trial relatively unscathed. As I mentioned, it was first reported back in 2022 about these allegations of sexual misconduct, and McMahon was under investigation. And one of these employees was Janelle Grant, and Dave Meltzer thinks that there should be no way back for the executive chairman, not only in TKO, but also WWE as well. Now, what's quite interesting as well is seemingly WWE is already reacting to these serious allegations made against its former CEO, particularly when it comes to the Royal Rumble store. Now, in the wake of this news, WWE has now reportedly made some changes to the Royal Rumble Stadium store that is set up at the location of Saturday's 2024 Royal Rumble Premium Live event in St. Petersburg, Florida. According to PW Insider, yesterday's Royal Rumble store collection featured a red Vince McMahon shirt highlighting his victory in the 1999 Royal Rumble match. You can actually see this on the screen right now. This was the merchandise in question. Now, as of this morning, when the shop opened, fans noticed that this particular shirt was gone, which suggests it had been removed from display and is now unavailable for purchase in person. As of now, it is, though, still available on the WWE shop website. So you can see right there the actual product page for it. Now, the Royal Rumble store isn't the only facet facing implications this weekend. Within the lawsuit, McMahon was also accused of using Grant as a pawn to secure a new deal for a world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion. Reports later identified this individual as former WWE champion Brock Lesnar. Following this claim, Fightful Select noted that plans for Lesnar's WWE return, which may have taken place at the Rumble event this weekend, could now be changed. In addition to that, Dave Meltzer has reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the WWE did not respond to questions regarding the suit, but WWE talent was told to lay low and not talk about anything other than the Royal Rumble or storyline related things. So certainly WWE is telling all of its talent to, again, remain quiet and not talk about this suit while certainly it's ongoing. So what are your thoughts regarding all of this? Do you think TKO will try and remove Vince McMahon from the company? Do you think it's even possible to do that? What are your thoughts on the Vince McMahon merchandise being pulled from the Royal Rumble store? Are you surprised that there was merchandise made anyway in the first place? What's your reaction to all of it? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. Now, let's talk about AEW, because there's a lot of speculation about possible signings coming up very soon. There are set to be two of the hottest free agents in the business in a few weeks' time, but it's entirely possible that both Mercedes Mone and Kazuchika Okada could become All Elite in the near future. Mone has been out of action since May of last year with an ankle injury, but has caused a lot of speculation regarding her future as rumors of her going to AEW intensify. As for Okada, he will be out of contract at the end of January, with his final match for New Japan Pro Wrestling taking place at the New Beginning in Sapporo on February 24. When it comes to their futures, Dave Meltzer has provided an update in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. For Mone, the belief is she'll be starting in AEW soon, as she has recently been doing acting work that has delayed her arrival. It's believed that AEW will hype up her inevitable debut and that an announcement is expected to be made very soon. She is back in training following her ankle injury and has been expected in AEW since before her appearance in the crowd at All In back in August. Meltzer noted that her talks with WWE did break down due to being far apart on money, and that unless she has already signed a contract with AEW, nothing is a lock. Mone was recently spotted at the TNA Hard to Kill pay-per-view in Las Vegas with WWE superstar Bayley, who was there to support Trinity Fatu in what was her final pay-per-view outing for TNA before departing the company, and it's set to be at its next set of television tapings. Trinity walked out of WWE with Mone back in May 2022, but is believed to be heading back there in the near future, possibly as soon as tomorrow's Women's Royal Rumble match at the Premium Live event. For Okada, Meltzer has noted that he's yet to make up his mind about his future, but that people within AEW range from hopeful to confident for the Rainmaker to become All Elite. Meltzer stated the best possible place for Okada to debut would be the Revolution pay-per-view in Greensboro, which takes place on March 3rd. However, if he chooses to sign with WWE, Meltzer can see the company holding off until WrestleMania 40 in April for Okada's debut. One thing Meltzer notes is the excitement level of Tony Khan, who has gone on record to say he is very excited about the year to come between the new signings he will make and the many wrestlers returning from injury. The Rainmaker is currently embarking on a makeshift farewell tour in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He successfully defended the Never Openweight six-man tag team championship with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tomohiro Ishii in his final match at Korakuen Hall before announcing he would be vacating his title shortly thereafter. He is scheduled to have one more match with Tanahashi at the New Beginning in Osaka on February 11. In the same building, they started their legendary rivalry before rounding out his career with New Japan in Sapporo on February 23rd and 24. There had been some speculation recently that Okada was leaning towards choosing WWE over AEW, according to a source close to him coming from a Japanese outlet. The report also claimed if he were to join WWE, he would start the chapter of his career in WWE NXT. However, those reports were played down as the man himself continues to ponder what's next for the Rainmaker. So where do you think is going to be the destination for Okada and Mercedes Mone? Is it going to be WWE? Is it going to be AEW? Could they be in different companies? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. It was a big week for WWE and TKO, particularly when it came to the television rights for Monday Night Raw. Earlier this week, it was announced that Raw would be moving to Netflix in January 2025, a deal reportedly worth $5 billion over 10 years. Internationally, the new agreement will see WWE's weekly shows Raw, SmackDown, and NXT air on the popular streaming platform, as well as premium live events such as WrestleMania. Despite the enormous figure involved, longtime wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer wrote in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that the significant price, which is up from Raw's $265 million a year deal with USA, is modest, given that localized international rights deals have now been eliminated in places like Canada and the United Kingdom. He added that Netflix got the WWE deal at a lower price than predicted. However, according to Meltzer, WWE believes the partnership will be more beneficial because of the exposure of being the first of its kind to produce live weekly shows on the streaming service. Meanwhile, it was also pointed out in this week's newsletter that the early stock market response was good, but Meltzer felt the reaction would have been a lot different if WWE had agreed to the same price with another network or online video platform. Various other wrestling personalities have weighed in with their thoughts on the Netflix deal this week, with former WCW executive Eric Bischoff commenting that it's a big opportunity for WWE to grow even more internationally because of Netflix's large subscriber count around the world. So what are your thoughts? What are your reaction? Do you think the number is smaller than it should be, higher than it should be? What's your reaction to it? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. Now, as far as when it comes to the Netflix deal with Raw going to Netflix and obviously SmackDown going to USA Network, many people have wondered, are we going to see any of the shows change the nights that they currently air on? Now, as I mentioned, Raw is heading to Netflix in January 2025, and SmackDown will return to the USA Network in October of this year in respective multi-year deals. The new home for Raw was revealed on January 23, 2024, with WWE President Nick Khan going on to say, at this moment in time, it remains Monday Night Raw. He would concede that there are more than 10 months before Raw comes to Netflix and that the show he feels would work on a different day. SmackDown moving to USA Network was announced back in September of last year, although a broadcast day for Friday was never confirmed. In the current Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer addressed both network moves, writing, quote, WWE officials told us that while the days of the week are not locked in, that they are working right now with the idea of SmackDown remaining on Friday on USA. This would suggest there hasn't been confirmation that Raw will continue on Mondays, but it hasn't been ruled out. Raw has aired regularly on a Monday night since its very first episode back in January of 1993. SmackDown was initially broadcast on Thursday nights in 1999, moving to Fridays in September of 2005. So it would find itself on Thursdays once again in 2015, before hopping to Tuesdays in 2016, and then back to Fridays in October of 2019. So it's kind of moved around all over the place, but certainly it would appear that the show's moving to different nights. It's certainly up in the air right now. Now, speaking of up in the air, The Rock wrestling again. Is it going to happen? Well, this week maybe is an indication that it could maybe in the future. With The Rock teasing a feud with Roman Reigns on the January 1st edition of Raw, it's been heavily speculated that the Hollywood star will headline the upcoming WrestleMania 40 event. In a move that shocked many, WWE's parent company TKO announced that The Rock had been officially added to the company's board of directors. With his now official role with WWE's parent company, The Rock will remain connected with WWE regardless of whether or not he makes an in-ring comeback. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, The Rock hasn't officially signed a deal to wrestle for WWE yet. Discussing the uncertainty surrounding plans for The Rock versus Roman Reigns, Dave Meltzer wrote, quote, according to WWE sources, Johnson has not officially signed a deal to wrestle for the company, but the key word said about that is yet. It is known that he is willing and said to be wanting to do a match with Roman and is strong on doing it at WrestleMania, but that is not locked in as of this week. It was suggested to us that the idea of seeing how much money Saudi Arabia would pay extra to get Dwayne Johnson in a match, given the crazy numbers they've paid for boxing matches, although it was noted that Johnson himself sees WrestleMania at this point as what he's most interested in. One person in the company noted that Johnson was headstrong about wrestling Reigns at WrestleMania. So it would appear that maybe WrestleMania 40 isn't going to happen. Either way, it would appear we're going to find out very quickly, with the Royal Rumble just being 24 hours away. Now, Kevin Dunn has exited WWE, and we could be seeing major changes coming to WWE soon in the wake of his departure. Lee Fitting, the man who replaced Kevin Dunn in production, has brought tangible changes to WWE's on-screen product already. WWE announced the hiring of Fitting on January 9, 2024, with the official statement reflecting on his work that generates both critical acclaim and mass appeal as a 25-year executive at ESPN. That sports background is something we've now seen in WWE, as noted by Dave Meltzer, who wrote in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, quote, the changes in look and feel of television shows under the vision of Lee Fitting was noticeable on Raw this week. There will be more elements done to make this show feel more like a sports show, such as UFC/boxing style tape showing the arrivals of Punk and Rhodes to the building, with the clock and other elements of sports shows that Fitting has produced will be added in. This should become more and more evident in the weeks to come. Now, with Raw heading to Netflix in January 2025, company CEO Ted Sarandos recently revealed that sports entertainment is the right sweet spot of our sports business, which is the drama of sports. So seemingly, we're going to be seeing maybe more changes coming to WWE television product in the future. Finally, spoilers ahead if you don't wish to be spoiled, although it's been heavily teased on television. One match seemingly is going to be taking place at WrestleMania for the Women's World Championship. We'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch? This looks to be a match that seemingly is set in stone for the big event in Philadelphia, with both Royal Rumble matches featuring an opportunity at a championship at WrestleMania this weekend. The favorite to win the Women's Rumble match has been revealed. Writing about plans for the April Premium Live event in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer stated, quote, however, The only match which has been planned for months and was still on the schedule is Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the Women's World Championship, which makes Lynch a Rumble favourite. On the January 15, 2024 episode of Raw, Becky Lynch confronted Rhea Ripley in the ring. Footage from that encounter can be seen during the broadcast of the show. Lynch would compare their respective journeys and going from being WrestleMania afterthoughts to main events. She would also question whether she is as good as Rhea Ripley, admitting that there's a nagging voice inside her head. Lynch would go on to say she needs to take the Women's World Championship from Ripley, and to do that, she needs to win the Royal Rumble. Of course, the Royal Rumble, as mentioned, takes place tomorrow night. We'll be doing a watch-along and a post-show live, so be sure to join us then. But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.